welcome back to my channel. We're doing part 2 of our Elves in Love colour along. The image is by Fabrika Fantasy. Looking forward to getting started on this one. So we've got a few coming in. Hi guys. Hi everyone. Colour pencil list is in the description below, so if you're looking for that. I think we have a bit of a delay today, so I do apologise for that. I'm trying out a new package and it's all new, so hopefully we can figure it out. So guys, I've got my tools today. I've got my dusting brush. I've got Caran d'Ache full blender in an extender so I don't break it. I've got a white gel pen, white Prismacolor pencil, Luminance white pencil, and also I have the Derwent electric eraser. I've also got the mono eraser as well, which my husband pinched, so I'm going to use this square one today because I don't have the round one here. Alright, so today we're going to be working on the hair. I did run through a few different colours that I could do and then changed my mind a few times and ended up deciding to go with blue. Because they're elves, I figured they're going to be mystical characters anyway, so having blue hair is probably not something extreme. I want to make the boy's hair blacker than the girl, so the girl will have a lot lighter blue hair and he'll have a lot darker blue hair, so we're gonna do a bit of a play with that today. So who's going to be following along today? Anyone colouring along with us? So I actually printed my image on Nina Classic Crest paper, Solar White first, which was this one, and I found that it comes out beautiful and the skin's really smooth, but I had trouble with scanning the image in. It didn't like it and it came out looking like he had chicken pox or something, but as you can see it's quite smooth, so it was a little bit kerfuffling, so I tried to reprint it and start it again on some new paper that I actually brought recently and haven't used yet. This is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth. See if I can find it to show you. It's this one. It's actually really smooth. I've tried a few different pencils on it and I'm not overly impressed with it, but I'm not liking it either. I probably won't buy it again, but I want to give it a go with some Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, doing skin on that to give that a try. But I've printed it on that one for now because, as I said, it didn't scan up very well. This one scanned up a lot better. And I also made it a little bit bigger for us so that we could see a lot more of that tiny detail as well. So what's a HQ? Somebody just... Okay, so we're ready to go. Yeah, I think that's the program. I'm not sure why it's not allowing me to do it either. Oh well, it's a test run, guys, so I do apologise. Give it a go. Yeah, it'll only let me do a small file as well. I wonder if that's my internet speed causing that one. Yep, I can't get it. I can't figure it out either. Sorry, guys. Alright, well, we may as well get started, and hopefully you'll be able to see enough to follow along. I'm just going to zoom in for you, and we're going to start on the boy's hair. So I'll try and go as close as I can without distorting it too much. So we're going to start with black. We're going to mark out all of the shadow areas in the hair, and also mark out some sections of hair that's laying on top, and also mark out some of this hair here through the top of the head as well, and also obviously around the shadow areas around his head there as well. So we're going to make his a little bit darker than hers. I'm going to do the black. Actually, I'll read through what colours I've got so if you haven't got them or seen them. I've got black, got indigo blue, Indanthrone blue, Copenhagen blue, and I've also got cool grey 10% as well. I've also got black and white. So I'm going to start by putting in some shadows around his head first, and also in areas of where the hair is laying on top of other hair. So I'm just going to come in, and when I do this, I'm going to use a flicking motion and flick up to create individual strands of hair. So just on those sections where I want to put up, I'm just going up, and then where I want the hair to sort of follow down behind the item, and then flicking back down. So from the bottom of the hair I'm flicking up, we're just going to create some individual strands of hair. I'm going behind all the sections of the hair that are sitting behind first. So just that piece of hair is actually sitting in front, so this is behind, so I'm just marking that in first. My pencil's nice and sharp, using medium to firm pressure. So behind the ear there, down below the ear, this is all sitting behind a shadow. There's a bit of an earring, so I'm just going to fill the colour in behind there. So we're going to fill in the colour of the hair using lines. So these will be our individual strands of hair. Do you guys want me to move the live stream? I can repost it up on the Facebook page with a new link. If you want me to start again, I can do that. I'll put a vote in who can't seem to see it very well first. So I'm just putting in a vote now. If anyone wants me to change, I will. But it looks like we've got most that are clear enough. I've got mine on a smaller screen and it looks not too bad. But I'll definitely look into it for next time. I think it's probably a setting that I haven't clicked. Just from the ends of the hair, I'm just making sure I go up as well. Okay. This is a bit of a shadow area here where the hair's overlaying. Just going to flick down from there, coming up from this side. There's a little bit just laying under there. I'm just coming up there, coming up from the bottom, flicking up. So if you're new and haven't been following along, this image is by Fabrika Fantasy. All of the links to purchase the book, which this is in, are in the description below. If you're in the Facebook group, make sure you pop in and check that out first. There's an event in there. So this piece of hair here is going in front, so I'm just flicking down and then back up. Trying to keep that thin because it's over the skin. There's already a little bit of pencil there. Just flicking in little pieces here. Coming underneath this section here, which has already been marked, and just flicking from there. I'm flicking in the direction the hair is going as well. Her hand's sitting in his hair, so there's a little bit of shadow there, and a shadow underneath her hand. Now just here there's a layer of hair that's flicking over the top of all the other hair. So I'm going to flick from there out towards the direction the hair's going. You might need to turn your paper to get the direction the hair's going right. So just here, this is sitting at the top, so I'm just going to flick from there down. And her hand's just sitting in front of the hair there, so I'm just making sure I go around there and just flick out from that section. Just like that. So there's a little bit of a shadow behind his head here, so I'm going to do the same thing. I've just turned it on a bit of an angle so I can get the camera right there for you. So just flicking out from that darker section there behind his ear. My pencil's already starting to blunten off here. Just going to line around that area and flick out from there. Now there's actually going to be a shadow from her head backwards as well, so I'm going to come back the other side and bring some flicks in from the other side as well. So just lining it out first, and then I'm just flicking. I think that actually might be a gap there, so I'm going to leave that section for background. Hi guys, welcome if you've just come in. So this area here is behind her head there as well. I'm just going to flick from there out. Just gone over her headpiece there. I'll just rub it out. Okay, so now I'm going into the tips of the hair, and I'm bringing the tips of the hair up into the rest of the hair now by just flicking out from the point. Just following the hair direction. There's a bit of a crease there, so there's going to be a darker shadow in there, so I'm just putting that in as well. So I'm going to come back this section here, pull this all the way up, just like that, and I'm going to come back this way a little bit and bring that down and fill it in a little bit more. So from just this crease here, we're going to create a little bit of texture in this dark patch down here. So I'm just going to flick from there up and just flick a couple of pieces of hair through and just extend this line up through there as well. So we've got a bit of a filler in there now. I've come back from that direction just to add one back in that way as well. Just back this way. So we've now filled in that section of hair with our shadow colour. So just here, I think there's a bit of hair here. I'm just going to extend that up and around, just making that line longer and flicking it up there like that. And then I'm just going to bring some hair back that way and then back up that way. Just coming up from this section here that was behind and flicking up from there. So we've had some issue with the quality of the video. For some reason it's come through really low. I'm not sure. It's probably a setting I've done because the program's actually new, so I'm still figuring it out. So I do apologize, but that is the highest it goes. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to create a bit of a part. So down here you can see that there's some hair flicking that way and there's also hair flicking this way. So you can see there and there. So I'm going to create a bit of a part here and just flick that way. So mine's not blurry, it's still low, but it's quite good. And back that way. So we've created a darker section of hair in the part there. And I've just flicked some lines in the direction the hair is sort of going. And what I'm going to do is flick the other way. So I'm just going to turn my page again. And I'm going to flick out this way now. So this little tuft of hair here is coming back this way and this bit's going to go back that way. I'm going to try to follow the direction the hair is going and just create the top of the hair there. Just overlaying the colours. These ones here that are finished off there, I'm just sort of turning a bit and I'm going to curve these ones back that way. So we're curving them back down. Okay, So to mark out those a little bit more clearly, I'm better off starting from this side now and in the direction the hair is going, so I can see that, just extending these lines out further towards that middle section. I've just flicked up, in some of them are curving just towards that other side. We want them all to go in the same direction that the hair looks like it's flowing. And then I'm just going to meet some of these around the corner there. So I've created some hair now on the top of the head, and I just want to create just a little bit down here and make that follow through a bit, because I think that was a bit blank area there. Okay, so we've created some hair. So what I'll do is I'll turn it around and you'll be able to see how it's starting to look. So we're going to have a little bit of a shiny patch in the top section of the hair there, which would be probably the lighter section. I'm not sort of picking where the direction of the light's coming from, but it's going to look like it's coming from that direction now. And we've got some little sections within these little parts of hair that will also have some shadows as well. Just dropped my piece of paper. So we've got a little bit of shape going in there, we've got definition, we've got shadows behind places now, which I'm just going to deepen up a little bit in some areas. To deepen them up, I'm just making those lines a little bit thicker, putting a little bit more pressure down. So I'm doing that on those sections of hair that are sitting forward and on top of the rest of the hair. Creating some depth behind them now, so you can see that slowly building up the more I go over that. So behind her hand here, I'm just filling in that a little bit thicker. And adding some more shadows in there. So you should be able to see now where it looks like we've got darker, thicker lines because we've built up that colour in those shadow areas now. I think one of the tricks with hair is to make sure that you show deep shadow areas as well as really high highlight areas as well, and also having those individual strands of hair builds up texture as well. Just going into these little parts here at the front and doing the same thing. Okay, so I'm quite happy with what I've got here. I'm going to come in next with the next darkest colour, which I'm going to use is Indanthrone blue, or Indanthrone. And I'm going to move into the areas that we've already done, and I'm going to extend this colour now over the top of those areas. So around the shadow areas, I'm going to bring this colour up and over those previous lines that we've done before. Some of the lines will be exactly over the black lines and some of them will create new lines, and this is how we build up our texture, by continuing doing lines. So you should be able to see that blue colour starting to come through now. If that camera was good. I feel like this one's really not going well, is it, with that camera being so bad? So sorry about that. I'll have to make sure I check that before I start next time. From my side it actually looked okay until it actually started streaming, and then it changed. So this section here, we created our own lines and texture, so I'm just coming back from there and putting the blue in now. So I just treat every section of hair as an individual part of the hair, and have a look at that. So this section is here. Just make sure that it's got plenty of texture, it's got a bit of a highlight in it, and it's got shadows. So we're creating a bit more of a highlight in the middle here. Hello, welcome. Got a couple of Lorettas. Just coming from the tips of the hair and just flicking outwards towards the middle. And I'm just going to turn my paper and go back the other way. So coming from this part we created down here and bringing it all the way around, following the direction of the hair still. Coming back down from that part again, just flicking my pencil over the top of the previous colours, building up that texture. Just want to apologise again for the camera, the low quality. for those just coming in. Looking down and then back up from the edge of the hair, creating a nice little highlight section in the middle of each part of hair. Oh, dropping my pencil. Just going around the little jewelry in his ear there. Coming up from the bottom, flicking towards the middle, coming up from the top and flicking towards the middle. Okay, just repeating on this bottom section of hair here, which would be a lot darker as well because it is at the bottom, and also her hair's there blocking his hair. There's a couple of little gaps in there too where the background will be coming through. These sections down here were quite small, but I'm trying to do a little bit of colour from the face and also from her head so that we're creating a bit of a shadow on both sides. Now just before I move on to another colour, I'm just going to do the eyebrows as well. I'm just going to flick little lines out from the bottom of the eyebrow there and out towards the edge of the face. Just building up tiny little strokes in there. Gradually building up there. I'm going to put a tiny bit of blue in there in a minute, but we'll just do this black first. Just going around the hair there, creating little strokes of hair to add texture. And I'm just going to use the Indanthrone blue and go in and add a little bit of that in there as well, just a little bit. I don't want too much. Alright, I've got Indigo blue next. I'm going to come over the top again and we're going to add another layer, adding in this blue, which is a little bit lighter, and we're going to extend this blue out a little bit further towards the middle now. So I'm just flicking out towards that highlight section in the middle now. Some of those areas I'm actually going to go through and put the colour onto the other side as well. So just flicking from the ends back in towards the middle. Coming back on this side. Flicking these ones out and around now. So we've created, still got a little bit of a highlight here, but we've added in some hair texture now as well. I'm going to continue on with the rest of the hair now. You'll find that a lot of these darker areas will be fairly filled in now. Just going to flick up from each of the ends as well. off camera a little bit there. Well, next week I'll have the camera better. I'll try to figure that out. I did have a bit of a practice, but obviously I've missed something for the video to be so low. If you think that there's any areas that need to be touched up or deepened up, do that now. I'm just going to come back in with my little bit of black there and just do a couple more of these a little bit deeper, just to make those shadows really dark. Because I'm going to put some grey in there now, which is actually a cool grey, 10%, so it's quite light. It's not quite white, but it is a light colour, and it's going to lighten up some of these shadows a fair bit. So I'm just going in and making sure they're quite dark. Okay, so I've got cool grey 10%. I'm just going to come in over the top and do this over the lines and areas that are really light already. I'm not going to try not to go over those darker sections too much, because I want to keep my shadows, but I want to put a little bit of a highlight colour in there. So I'm placing this mainly in those lighter areas that have been left there. So the cool greys are blue toned, so that's why I've picked cool grey. And I've picked grey rather than white because I didn't want it too light. We're going to put white through the girl's hair, so I wanted to make this one not quite as dark. Or light, I should say. So it's really softening off now, and I'm starting to see a nice shine on the top there. I'm trying to flatten off any of the tooth of the paper that might be left as well, so that it doesn't leave rough texture through there. I want it to look nice and smooth. I'm still keeping the pencil doing lines rather than actually just shading in. So you can see that the colour's really starting, can't speak today either. Colour's really starting to brighten up as I flatten off the tooth. And now I'm going over that, I'm getting a little bit of dust, so just make sure you brush that off, don't wipe it off because you'll smudge out your picture. Now my grey is getting a little bit dirty, so I'm just wiping it off with my finger so it stays bright. Okay, so that's the blue hair, or the darkest hair. I'm going to use the Caran d'Ache Full Blender, which is a bit dirty. Let me just clean that off. And I'm just going to make sure the tooth is flattened out on all of that. So I'm just going to go over that. You could use any blender that you've got. You could use the Prismacolor one. Just going into where the tooth was still raised and I could still see some fuzzy edges. So I've just gone over those. And what will happen is this will flatten out that tooth and it'll make this blue hair look nice and smooth. It'll get rid of any of the white jagged spots that you might have left. I'm still following the direction of the hair so I don't smudge out those lines. I want to keep those lines as much as I possibly can. Still a few flecks of white through that middle section there. See how dark that got now that I've flattened off the tooth. And just in the eyebrows as well. How does that look? All right. It is very quiet in the chat, so I'm hoping that you're all busy working away there, or it is the quality is too hard for you guys to see, and that I do apologize for. I'm going to repeat the same process with the hair. This time I'm going to start with the indigo blue, and I'm going to start with the shadow areas with the indigo blue on the girl's hair. Now in her hair there's lots of different sections of hair, and also there's some armor in her hair as well. So there's a couple of little like these little ring things here look like they might be metal. There's also this armor here, which I'm going to do the same color as his silver armor as well, so we'll do that later. So I'm going to make sure I miss those sections, but I'm just going to come in and just do the same thing we did with his hair and create those shadow areas first. So just flicking out from those shadow areas and creating those texture, or that texture, by creating individual strands of hair. I'm going to make sure that those sections where the hair's got more sitting on it, or where there would be a shadow, that we've done that darker. So there's a braid in her hair, and that would actually be quite dark behind there, so I've just lined that out. Looks like that hair's actually heading downwards underneath this plait, so I'm going to come back up the other side as well. Now his hand is in front of her hair, so I'm just going to go around that and flick back the other way. Moving across her hair here. This section behind the braid would be darker. I'm making sure I line that in thicker. And just flicking up in the direction of the hair there. Now I'm actually going to create a little bit of a crease there in the middle and just bring that up. And also following the shape of the braid there, because it's sort of not really marked in there, but I still want to mark it in. So we're going to come up from there and just create a little bit of a highlight in the middle. So coming down on each side of the braid, we want to create little strands of hair in towards it so it looks round. So I'm just flicking in towards the middle, creating a curve, and it's getting a little bit straighter as we go down to the bottom. I'm going to do the same from the middle of the braid, because this would be the darkest area, and bring that back towards the other side now. Also on a bit of a curve because it's following the hair. As we move down it gets a little bit straighter. I'm going to do the opposite. Oh, miss this bit here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm just going to turn my page so I can get a better angle. So this section here actually cuts off, so I'm just going to pop that in there and flick that up. We're going up towards the top now. Like that, and I'm going to come back down the other way. So following the curve of the hair back down. So we should have created a darker section in the middle of the hair. Now what I'm going to actually do is bring the Indanthrone blue in for a sec, and I'm just going to deepen up that middle section there, and those shadow lines that are creating that braid. I just want them a little bit darker. Just followed that around, and I've just gone under each of those sections of the braid just to deepen them off a little bit more. Back to the indigo blue. Just got a shadow behind here, following the curve of the hair. Back down and then back up. So the hair usually takes me the longest, but it's the most relaxing, and as you can see it's the part where I think the least. Okay, I've missed a little bit down the bottom. I'll make sure I go down there and add that in. Just flicking out from the top and then coming up from the bottom. There's now just down here, that's actually part of the flower, so I don't want to hit that. Just go beside there. That's hair. That's hair at the back there. That's a long streak of hair there. So we've got a bit of a gap where there's background, and then there's also the stem of the flower there, or plant. Okay, so we're going to come from this flower. So this flower here is going to be quite white when we're finished, but I want to make sure I still get the hair behind there. So I'm just flicking out, show a bit of a shadow there, which is already marked in, so just following along those lines and making sure I come back from this side where his arm is leaning over. We want that to be dark behind there as well. In fact, that shadow is probably going to be really dark because his arm's covering over her hair completely there. Just made a couple of those lines extend a little bit further so it looks like a bit of a shadow area in there. There's another piece there that was a bit like that. Now I just want to be careful here because the flower sort of stops around here. Just going to put a little bit of a squiggly line there and make sure I mark from there down, just so I don't cover over that flower. So I've made sure that it stayed kind of wobbly. Not very technical word there, is it? Now this bit of hair here comes all the way up and behind. There's another section there. And this is all coming up. Going back down from her neck. Bit of a shadow in there. So I'm continuing to do lines all over. We're going to move back up to the top. Just here at the back here, this is all going to be dark because it's all flowing down the back here and down behind his arm. So I'm just going to make sure that's all dark in there. I've pretty much filled in that section at the back in those smaller parts. Coming back down. Covering over where his arm's coming through. I'm pretty sure the hair stops there, and I think that's a part of his outfit at the back there, so I'm going to leave that. Flicking from the plant up. Okay, and then just moving back up to the top, and we're going to repeat the same process. So in here you can see there's actually, looks like a part of a plait here. I'm just going to fill that, and I still think that actual part there could be hair rather than ear. I'm going to rub that out now because I think it's hair. So this braid comes around from the top here and this side, and it flows all the way around. So I'm going to go down the middle of the braid and just do a deep line through there first. And then I'm going to flick from the top of each section like I did on this bit here. Coming back up. So down and then back up. Down and back up. And down around the corner here, I'm just going to do that darker on that edge, and then just flicking up and back down the other side. So we've created our little braid there. There's a bit of hair just there. Sometimes with some images you find that you will have coloured something and then come back and go, hang on, that's not right. As you start to colour, you'll see that it's not filled in right or whatever, and that's what's just happened there with that ear. Coming from the side of the head there back towards the back. That seems to be pulled in there. Looks like that bit too might be coming back this way. I'm going to say in that direction because it's tied up around the back there. So it's a little bit, might need to be a bit of a hairdresser to know exactly where that hair's going, hey? This one looks like it's coming back towards that way and back up again. That one's coming that way and back up again. I'm just going to go down the middle of the braid again to deepen that up. Fiddly pieces of hair, these ones. So on the weekend my husband and I tried to do this this pose. And these elves are extremely flexible and elegant looking here, because there's no way we could get that pose looking like they do. Got another braid there, so I'm making sure I do each side or edge. This piece of hair here is coming from behind the armor, so I'm just going to put a shadow behind it and then flick from there out. It looks like it's sort of coming around in a bit of an angle there. If you get all these shapes worked out at the start, when you come back in with those next colours, you're really just following along. I've just made a couple of those sections go all the way through, so they look like little parts of hair coming through. Okay, and then we've got these top sections here. I've got a little bit of skin coming over, just rub that off. Coming from the top of the hair, it looks like it's kind of flowing down. There's a bit of a line here. I'm just going to extend that further up. So where those part lines are, I've tried to go quite deep and thick there. So here's another one. Okay, what's this? Watch me carve. Coming around. Now this bit goes down into the plait. Wow, she's weaved and webbed in there. Whoever did her hair is a genius. There we go. Now just that top section to go. Just coming from, my pencil's actually blunt, I'm just going to sharpen that. Got my froggy. Alright. Coming out from that section and up, and then back the other way. I think we need to go in with that Indanthrone blue and just go around some of those shadow areas. So I've got the Indanthrone blue and I'm just going to go into those shadow areas and really just deepen those up. We've created some lines through there, I'm just going over those. Just following the hair direction still. Middle of the braid and on the edge of the braids. Yeah, definitely needed to be darkened up in there. Put a couple of flicks through. Just added a couple of flicks to make it look like it was part of the hair rather than just a straight line there. That's much better. Needed the shadow. Oh, my time's almost up, so I'll try to finish off here. So the next colour I'm going to use is the Copenhagen blue. I'll start from the top and I'll show you what I'll do because I'll finish the rest off camera. I've got the Copenhagen blue, which is a lot lighter blue, and I'm going to come in and continue on extending those areas that we've just done. We're doing exactly the same as what we did in his hair. We're just creating lines and texture through just to create and build up that hair. I'm coming through the middle of those lighter sections now to fill some of that in because we're going to be putting white in next. So just flicking up and back down. Continuing to create texture. Look at that. It's really starting to build in now. I haven't done the bottom section of hair with the darker colour yet, so I'm not going to go down there. Just do this top section and I'll move down there later. I love kitties. Okay, I'm going to use the Luminance white for this one because I want it to be quite opaque. And I'm going to come in and line all of those lines now that are already white and just make sure that the tooth pushed down on the very edge of that blue. Same as what we did with the black there with the grey. This is going to really lighten off some of those blue areas, which is why I wanted to go back in with that darker blue just to make sure we had plenty of depth. So you can see it's really starting to lighten off. I'll just come back here so you can see this section here. I'm just using lines to come over the top of that and really lighten those sections up. In the middle of each of those braids there. So guys, I really do apologize for the video camera, and I'll definitely look at fixing that next time. I'm not sure what I've done. I'll have to go through all the settings and see if there was something I was supposed to tick off before I started. But yeah, it did come through quite low. Very strange. Now, I haven't done the bottom section of the hair yet. I'll finish that off camera, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like once it was finished. So we've gone from having this sort of look up here to having it fully filled in. And I think I'm going to go back in with the Copenhagen blue and just make sure I've got some nice individual strands of hair there as well. And soften off the rest of the tooth with the colourless blender as well. I can still see a few points of where the tooth's quite rough still. So that's it. So if you feel you've gone too dark, you could try and put layers of lighter colour over the top. And remember too, when you come and put in that light grey, it will lighten up some of those areas for you as well. But I'll finish off the rest of this hair and I'll scan it in and pop it up in the group so you can see the finished hair. And that's it. So we'll be working on the silver probably next week and the clothing, and then we'll do the background and the rest of that as well. So we will be doing the feathers at the top here. I probably was going to have a go at those today, but I think I'll leave it at what we've done because of the camera quality and things like that. I don't want to do too much so that we can get a clearer picture next week. So next week will be the same time. Let me just double check that. Yep, so the 10th of August, that's Australian time too. But I'll pop it all up in the group for you. And yeah, if you have any questions, please send me a message through Facebook, and I'll try to answer those, or through Patreon or through Instagram, anywhere. Guys, thank you so much again, and I do apologize again for that shoddy camera quality there, and I'll make sure that I endeavour to make that better next time round. Also too, if you're not a patron and you would like to have a look at that, all of the links for that are in the description below. We are having a little bit of a giveaway, so if you want to check that out, it's below. Also too, we have got over 1,000 members in the Facebook group now, which is awesome. And also it's really great. We're having lots of images come through and some great people in there, so come and join the community if you haven't already. And thank you, big thank you to Fabrika Fantasy for the image that we're doing, and I think that's everything that I need to say. Thanks so much guys, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button if you liked the video today, and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and Vero. Great guys, thanks so much again. I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.